Today we're going to be talking about my super secret prayer that only I have, that I'm going to teach to you for a small price of free. It's in the Bible. Let's get into it. So, just as a little bit of a basis, I just want to say that, not to brag, but I'm going to be giving over like some of my accomplishments like over the past however many years, just to kind of gauge that I've at least done some things, and the lessons that I'm teaching you just what I do in order to achieve those things. So if you disagree, then you disagree, but I have the Bible as proof, and also this is a lot of personal experience. Couple things from ages 12 to 16, so this is kind of like the range of like my self-improvement slash faith journey. I started as an agnostic, then I went to Christianity, and now I'm like super deep into Christianity, and I'd consider myself an apologist. In that time, I've stayed the same height. I put on 40 pounds of muscle, close to 50, probably around that range. I've gotten leaner. I have a pretty decent physique. I got complimented for it yesterday when I was out with my girlfriend, so that was nice. An old woman came up to me and said I was buff, which was fantastic. I have, like previous mentioned, I have an awesome girlfriend, which we'll be going over how you can manifest that and all those types of things and how to properly pray for that and all that type of stuff. Awesome girlfriend. Technically not fiance, but technically maybe. That'll be another video. Socialization, I've managed to overcome a lot of fear and anxieties in social circles. I've gotten like actual tests from like really high quality organizations around like psychology and mental health and all that type of stuff, and I scored super high on like the social anxiety tests and the ADHD tests and all those types of things, and I've retaken pretty much all of those tests, and they're all on like the low end. um What's another thing? The medals behind me, you can see these are for volleyball. I played volleyball on a national level. I have, you can't see it, it's not in frame. I might have the plaque somewhere. It's over there. I have a varsity plaque for playing or participating in varsity wrestling on my high school team with only like a year of experience because I was able to progress so quickly. And again, I'm going to be going over all of those things and how you can do that and how to progress quickly. Literally anything. This is absolutely crazy how this works. I recently discovered kind of how the system works more so fairly recently. So I was talking to my friend about a concept called the law of attraction. And basically what it is you're it's the idea, and we're going to round this back to Christianity at some point because it sounds a little bit like woo woo, like what is this? It's the idea that your brain gives off electrical signals, which is a fact. And it's believed that people who think positive things give off positive electrical signals to the universe. And people who give off negative electrical signals give off negative energy to the universe. So, if you've ever heard the saying, this was something that got brought up between me and my friend. If you've ever heard the, like skiers, for example, when you're skiing down a mountain and there's a ton of trees, they don't say focus on not hitting trees. They say focus on staying on the path. They don't say don't hit a tree. They're not thinking in their head, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree. Because what's going to happen if you're constantly looking at that tree, looking at that tree, looking at that tree? You're going to end up hitting a tree because you're only focused on trees. But if you focused on stay on the path, if you're staying on the path, you won't even have to worry about the trees because the path's already clear. You just focus on the one thing. I'm looking at my notes here. Another thing is that we were talking about like professional athletes and their mindset, like people like Conor McGregor. We were talking about our own personal experience, how there's periods of our life when we go through when we're like super dedicated to one thing, and we still do the actual work of it. Like we do the same amount of work, whether it's fitness, for example, we're still in the gym the same amount of time, we're still training at the same intensity, whatever. But there are periods where we're more focused on it versus not, and we make more progress, we get stronger, we gain more weight, and it seems to be like leaner weight as well during the periods when we have more focus on it, just in our mind. We're doing nothing different physically, but just in our mind, we're putting more emphasis on it. Another thing, there was a study done where they were testing to see if the law of attraction was even a real thing, because it sounds absolutely insane, your brain giving off electrical waves to the universe. Like what? You can't even they never found that you can like measure it. But what did happen was they did a study and they had people do visualization exercises, and they would have them visualize 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long it was, and they would have them visualize about ladders. And when they would visualize about ladders, they were asked before a ton of questions, like just random questions. How often do you see cats? What's your favorite type of dog? How many red cars on average would you say are on the road? Would you say it's a majority or minority? Then they would ask questions about ladders. Most of these people were like, I haven't touched a ladder in years. Like, why are you asking me about ladders? They had them visualize about ladders. A overwhelming majority of them within that study, within the next couple of weeks, couple of months, had multiple experiences with ladders when they would visualize ladders for every day, weeks at a time, or every day for week-long periods. And a lot of it was forced. It was things like, yeah, my aunt died and I had to help my family and go up into the attic and I had to climb a ladder. It's been forever since I've had to do that. Oh, my ball got stuck in a tree, like when I was at the park. I had to climb a ladder or climb the tree, or like the little rope ladders for tree houses. I had to go up, like climb one of those and get the ball. Most of these people haven't experienced ladders in forever. It sounds ridiculous to say, but it is a real thing. You can probably practice this in your own life, where if you were to visualize every day for 2 minutes just thinking purely about ladders, you will probably see a ladder sooner than you otherwise would. Just because it's in your brain. I'm not saying you would have like an experience with it, but just because it's in your brain. The thing is, when it comes to Christianity, this is super, super like against everything. So you would think it's like electrical signals to the universe. Like the Bible doesn't talk about that. This is where Ask Be Have comes in, which is the title of this video. I'm going to be reading off, where is it? Matthew 21 and then 18 through 22. Let me just find it real quick. I'm going to be reading that off to you just to give a little bit of context. If you want to pull out your Bible, you can. All right, so this is when Jesus is going back to the city of Bethany, I believe. I'm going to start. Now in the early morning, when he was returning to the city, him being Jesus, or he being Jesus, he became hungry. And seeing a long fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it except leaves alone. And he said to it, No longer shall there ever be any fruit from you. And once the fig tree withered, seeing this, and at once the fig tree withered, sorry, I'm a little bit slow. I didn't test good for the ADHD test. I just anxiety test. The autism test actually went up. Seeing this, the disciples were amazed and asked, How did the fig tree wither at once? And Jesus answered and said to them, Truly I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what is done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, Be taken up and cast into the sea, it will happen. And whatever you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive it all. So it says, verse 22, And whatever you ask in prayer, believing, and you will receive it all. Ask, be, receive. So, this is how I'm applying this. And I'm going to put this away now because I'm done. I changed the lighting for this video, so I actually can't see very well, so apologies for the stutters in reading. I'll work on it. First thing is asking. This is the easy part, but it's very specific on how you do it, I've learned. When it comes to asking for things, I think that if it's something that's already on your life path, if it's something that you believe that God will reward you with, and if it's something that's good for you, if it's something that you truly need, I believe that you can be rewarded with that, because God will feel our desires as long as they're just, and as long as we are doing his will, and as long as we're quote unquote good people. We're all sinners, but you understand what I mean in the case of like we not so much we deserve, but in the case of we're doing the right actions, we're doing the thing to get the outcome essentially. So if we pray, hey, I want to have a successful business, God's going to help us have the will. He's going to help us have the discipline. He's going to help us have the motivation to work in our business. It's not going to be a case of I want a successful business and he's just like, okay, Amazon went under, they gave it to you for some reason. That's not going to happen. But when you ask for things, I like asking, and it's dependent on the situation, but I like asking as if I already have it. So I like giving thanks. This is part of B, but just we'll stick with asking for now. So this is part of step 2. So there's 3 steps: ask, be, have. When you ask, you pray. You go, Lord, thank you for $1 million. That's part of the ask. That's part of the be as well. If you can either ask for the thing, Lord, help me have the will, the strength, the discipline, the motivation to work in my business, work in my job, to save and invest in all those things, to have lucky investments, have fortunate investments, to where I'm able to one day have $1 million. That's the asking part. The being part is living as if you already have it. And I think something I've been doing recently that really has shifted my perspective on a lot of things is I've never visualized in my entire life. I've never done like the cute self improvement, like affirmations type thing. Like I have a whole affirmation sheet, which is kind of ridiculous for me to say because it's just something that I've never done. But putting my ego aside, it is very helpful because it genuinely does shift who you are when you have a consistent stream of like, these are the thoughts that I put in my head. This is what I believe. This is what I don't believe. All these types of things. And just sticking with visualization for now. All you do is you just sit down and you just think in as much detail as possible what the thing is that you want and the actions that you're doing on a day-to-day basis and how it would feel and all these types of things. And it's kind of dependent on your mood for the day. So if it's like you're kind of feeling down, you're not really feeling ready to record, like for me, for example, I went to sleep so late last night. I went to bed at like 11. I wake up at 5. I barely slept. I didn't really want to record this morning. So for my visualization this morning, I visualized how the recording would go. I visualized setting up. I visualized having my coffee. I visualized sipping it throughout each video because I'm recording like 2 or 3 this morning, plus a couple of shorts. And that was my process when I didn't feel like doing the thing. So I would do it in a way of, I want motivation, I want discipline, I want drive to do the actual task. Versus if I felt really good this morning, I was ready, I would visualize the success of it. So I'd visualize a video doing extremely well. I'd visualize it getting tens of hundreds of thousands of views, me having hundreds of thousands of subscribers, me having a community where there's tens of thousands of people in there who are all focused on like Christ-based self-improvement, which is my mission. It's trying to get as many Christians on self-improvement, which essentially is just a Christian-based self-improvement path. That's what I believe my goal is for my life, is to get as many people on that path as possible. And when I visualize it, I start to become more so that person. So I asked for those things. I asked to be able to be a leader in the sense of I want to be able to help people when it comes to their self-improvement journey, when it comes to staying true to God, when it comes to staying true to their Christian beliefs and how to defend them and how to properly interact with people without being considered like a weird Christian. You know those guys who are just like dorks about the Bible for no reason? Like, not even trying to be disrespectful, but I see a lot where there's a lot of Christians who just, in an inappropriate way and in inappropriate situations, bring up the Bible when it doesn't really apply. So people will make like, and obviously it's not okay to make like inappropriate jokes or racist jokes or whatever. But when you're with your group of friends, especially for us guys, you understand this completely. That if you're with a group of like mixed friends, it's a joke at one of my tables in my school that we have black people, we have Colombian people, we have a Vietnamese guy, we have a Korean guy. I'm a quarter Japanese. My grandma was bombed in Nagasaki, like genuinely, like 100%. Hold up my hand. She was in that bombing. She was in one of the surrounding cities. I'm part Japanese. I'm also really white because my mom is white and my grandpa's white on my dad's side. So my grandma was Japanese, but she married a white man. We all make racist jokes to each other. They all tell me how I get bombed. I tell my Korean friend how his legs look like pubic hairs because Koreans grow really weird like leg hairs and hairs in like weird parts of my body. The Vietnamese guy is just quiet. My black friend, I make fun of. He makes fun of me. The Colombian girl, or also like mixed girl at my table, we make fun of her. That's just how we are. And there's no hate. It genuinely brings us closer together because it's like, this is a bit of a side rant. So if you want to skip like a minute out of this, if you just want like the key lecture, then go ahead and do that. But it's like, there's no real issue with it because it genuinely is bringing us closer. Because if we didn't do those things, if we didn't criticize each other, if we didn't give each other crap, It's like you have an axe, but you always hit it, so there's always like influences from the world or whatever, but you never sharpen it. It's like we're sharpening each other by making fun of each other. Like, I'm not allowed to make any of the jokes that I say in class on the internet, and probably neither of them are either. But if my black friend goes to me and he says, "Mike, haha, your grandma got bombed," what am I gonna do? Get upset at my friend because he made a joke? There will be a kid, and this isn't like an example of my class, but there are guys who will be like, "No, no, no, that's bad because this isn't this, and the Bible says like love thy neighbor." We're being loving in our actions. So that, I think I was talking about like why socialization is important. I got zero sleep. I'm very sorry for this video. I haven't uploaded in forever, and this is what I'm coming back with. Nobody watches these anyway. It's fine. I get like 100 views sometimes. But anyways, back to visualization. That was just a side point. Jesus Christ, Brandon. Cheers. Okay, back to visualization. You imagine yourself having the thing. You imagine yourself as that person. Same thing with affirmations. I really like the idea of affirmations now in my current journey. I got the idea and kind of the idea for this video, and kind of I started understanding why so many things were coming together in my life, because I actually was a big proponent of visualization, just wasn't as dedicated as was now. I, especially when it comes to physical sports, I'm again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's kind of is a fact to me at this point that I am a physically very gifted athlete. I'm very coordinated when it comes to upper body, when it comes to footwork, when it comes to all these things. I learn like moves and techniques typically a lot faster than everyone else. I could be completely wrong. I could just be normal, and everyone else around me could just be like slower, or maybe I'm not understanding something properly, whatever. But I made it on varsity my first year of wrestling, and I was actually like one of the better players on the team. I was the best out of all the first years by far, even the guys who were bigger than me, which was most of them, and that's literally proven by fact, by roll time, and who would have the dominant position more often, and all those types of things. I had a pretty crap record, like against other people in my weight class, but I did win some matches, and I almost went to regionals, which is like my entire district versus, or which is, yeah, regional. So it's a bunch of districts. So I was literally 2 points away. I was one takedown away. So like getting the guy on the ground one time from getting to um getting to like the next level basically. So it goes like district, and then it goes regionals, which is a thing that I was close to missing. Then it goes states, and if you go to states, then it's like a huge national tournament. It's like who's the best in the country. So I was one of the best in my district. First couple of months wrestling, I was beating people who were doing it for multiple years. I beat one guy who was wrestling since he was like 8, and he was like, "Yo, how long have you been wrestling?" And I was like, 6 months, and he like crapped himself. I think that's something I'm gifted in. And visualization, I believe, isn't, I'm not gifted in it necessarily because of the fact that I'm just like this awesome athlete. I'm saying this to you humbly, I promise. I know there are people who will destroy me in pretty much everything in my life, and it just takes like a little bit of genetic variance for that person to just absolutely annihilate me in whatever sport it is, and there's no amount of learning that I can do for them to just be genetically better than me. But I believe the reason why I've been able to do so well in sports that I've played, even if it's just on like a friendly like pick up basketball type level, is because I visualize sports constantly, especially combat sports. That is like my one true love for life, is fighting and physical altercation, all those things. Obviously in a controlled environment, but that's something that definitely, if I keep up this channel and you keep up watching, if you're like one of the early day subscribers or whatever, I think that you will definitely see me participate in that more and more, and you will definitely see me in that space for a decent chunk of time, because that is genuinely like one of my real true loves when it comes to just life in general, is just fighting people, sparring, doing hard things, and combat sport applies to all of that. And it's because I think about it all of the time. So I have the God gifted talent of being able to do that, but everybody can do it in the sense of you can set dedicated time to visualize. And that's something that I've been doing, and it really has changed my life in the slightest possible ways, but in a lot of ways. It's like when you meditate for the first time. I was actually against meditation for a while, so I wasn't speaking about it for a decent period, but I'm kind of back into it, just in a little bit of a different mindset and format and all that, because I've learned more. That'll be a video at some point. But if you've been on self improvement for a while, or you were on self improvement for a while, and now you're switching to more Christ improvement type focus to your life, then what you'll notice is that a lot of things change in very slight ways, but it's like a ton of small, small, small changes, just like teensy tiny mindset changes that build up into something really big. And this is something that when you get good at it, when you imagine you being successful, when you imagine you doing the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it, when you imagine yourself being strong and capable, when you imagine yourself, literally imagine yourself standing in front of God and just doing the work. Like he's literally right there watching you. You're participating in your sport, you're participating in weightlifting, you're participating in literally social events. Imagine like the physical embodiment, like the stereotypical like European version of Jesus, where it's like the blonde hair, blue eyes, all of that. If you've watched the TV show The Chosen One, that's who I like to imagine because that is more so what he would look like. I forget the guy's name. It's like Ben something, Benjamin something, the actor, but he does look like what we would imagine Jesus to look like. But imagine he's standing right there and just watching. You're not speaking to him, you're not seeing him. Maybe you do, but just imagine you're in that social event and the confidence that you would have knowing that what you're saying is right in his eyes. That's really powerful to just see that. And you can accelerate that through affirmations. Some of mine are, oh God, I'm going to read them off. All right, here are mine. I have 7. I follow God's will. I'm a loving husband and partner, so I'm speaking into existence, and I'm going to be a loving husband, that I am a loving partner. So I'm not a husband yet, but I will be someday. I have 100,000 subs on YouTube, so I'm speaking that into existence. I visualize it. I'm saying it with my mind, so it's like I already have it. So I'm going to act as if I'm someone who already has that. That's a key mindset you have to have, because you can't act like, oh man, I can bench 500 pounds and then get on the bar, have someone unrack it for you, and then die because like your skeletal muscular system and your tendons and your bone structure can't hold 500 pounds with your arms. That's not how it works. But you set that as the standard, and that's the goal you want to hit. And eventually, when you become the type of person who trains like they're going for a 500-pound bench press, that's obviously an absolutely crazy example. 99.99999% of people will never hit a 500-pound bench press. But you will always get closer versus the person who goes, it'd be cool to bench like 225 pounds, I think, because like that one guy said that. That one wrestler dude said that's strong. So like, I would do that. There's a big difference in the intention behind it. And the thing is, you want it to be strong, you want it to be written down, you want it to be firm, because when you do these things, you're speaking it into existence. You're speaking it to be. Versus just thinking about it every so often, be like, I should probably like get to the gym. I kind of want my bench to go up, but I'm not sure. No, 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 no. I will hit this goal. I am the person who's able to do this. I just need to do the work in order to do it. So you're being that person. You're being the person who would deserve that bench. You're being the person who would deserve that thing. Next thing, I'm a top 1% YouTuber and speaker, not a top 1% speaker in this. My camera quality looks a lot better. I have a whole monitor over there that tells me if I'm recording or not and how long I'm recording for. That's why I was gone for so long, because I was really upset with the camera and the microphone quality and all that. Now it looks a lot better, which I'm very, very, very happy about. You have no idea. Next thing, I am disciplined and I train very hard, so I combine those two. I'm disciplined, and my discipline is tied to training very hard. So what that means is, when it comes to training, whether it's combat sports, cardio, weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, athletic training, any of that stuff, whether it's just playing a sport in general, I like tying that to my discipline because that's just something of who I am. And I'm going to make a video on like body image and all that, and that actually can be very toxic, but I'm working around that and I'm going to leave it, and I'm actually going to let it kind of like become toxic in my own mind just so I understand it better, which is a really weird thing to say, but if it's my job to try and help teach people and try and guide people to a better path, I need the negative experience of doing it wrong. So it sounds really weird, but that's what I'm going to be doing because I believe it's important. Because if I give myself a bad image of myself, like personally, if I give myself a negative image on who I think I am, if I tie kind of unhealthy things together and I feel those things, then I can help the person who also felt that. So it's a very like weird instance, but that's kind of how I'm going about it. Next thing, I plan my days so every morning. I actually forgot to last night, which is probably why oh god. Yeah, like, don't stay out to do movie night with anyone. It was worth it. I was with my girlfriend. Anyways, I plan my days so every morning, most mornings, I will go on my laptop. I will plan like my to-do list for the morning of, so I have it right there. So actually I did. No, I actually did plan my morning. I just didn't do it like in a checklist, but I have it all right there. So in my morning, I wake up. I do a focus meditation where I focus on being present. I focus on like feeling God's presence, which is a whole video in itself. I read my Bible. I read a chapter every day now. I do a meditation slash visualization, so I try and be present with the word that I just read, and also I visualize like the recording I'm gonna do or the training I'm doing later that day or whatever. I do affirmations, so I read these off. I do work slash my eat the frog task, which is just like the hardest thing for the day. I like doing first thing in the morning. And then afterwards, I will go and work out. So we have one more. Last one is I stick to good habits. So because I have these affirmations, I'm going to read them all off again. I follow God's will. I'm a loving husband and partner. I have 100,000 subs on YouTube. I'm a top 1% YouTuber and speaker. I am disciplined and I train very hard. I plan my days and I stick to good habits. Me putting that in my own head is going to have me believe that I'm that person. And if I'm that person, then I won't do all the negative habits that I don't want to be. That that's something very important. The order matters as well. Maybe not for, the top 3 definitely matter, maybe after that not so as much, but the reason why I follow God's will is number 1 because that's the person that I ultimately want to be. I can get rid of everything. I can never speak to anyone again. I can go through the worst troubles and tribulations. My ultimate goal is try and get as close to God as humanly possible, and I want that for other people, which is why I even do what I do. I believe that's very important, so that's why that's number 1 for me. Next thing, something that just a little bit of tips when it comes to B. We're still on B. We have one more after this. We're still on B. Is live with expectancy. My pastor talked about this, and I don't really understand the message entirely. So if I skew anything, this is my fault. But I've heard people talk about it a lot, so everybody already has their own different viewpoint and view set. So just try and find the best understanding for yourself and what interpretation is genuinely the most logical with the rest of the Bible. But living with expectancy basically just means that you're living in a way where you expect the outcome that you desire, as long as it's a healthy desire and you believe that it ties with God's will for you. I think that a lot of people in their conscious can kind of feel whether or not something is good for them or not. And I really do believe that you kind of know about what your purpose is. I've always known that my purpose was something along the lines of YouTube and fitness and improvement and progress and all those types of things. And the missing piece for a long time was just a God aspect because I wasn't talking about God because I was too fearful to do it. I'm now living with the expectancy of I found what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm meant to do. I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. And I trust God that He's going to help me through this journey, that He's going to allow me to make this profitable, that He's going to allow me to do all the right things that I need to be doing, that He's going to help me and guide me throughout this entire journey. Live with expectancy, as in the sense of it's a fact that you're not going to get everything you pray for. That's pretty much a 100% fact in most cases. Obviously, I'm not God, so if you wanted to be like, you can have whatever you want, go ahead. Obviously, that's different. But in most cases, if you're constantly praying, I want $1 million, now another $1 million, now another $1 million, and now I want this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing, and I want to be 6'5", but I'm only 5'4", and it's 43 years old. You're probably like a teenager watching this, or like early 20s or like 30s. Pretty sure that's what my statistic is. And that's all fine and dandy. Don't live with expectancy as in the sense of God is just going to do whatever you tell him to do. Live with an expectancy of, I kind of know about what my path is when it comes to my faith. I kind of know about what my path is when it comes to religion and my purpose and all of these things. I expect, and it's promised to us in the Bible. I don't have the exact verse, I'm sorry, but my pastor talked about it, and there's a couple verses, so oopsie. There's multiple parts in the Bible where it talks about when you believe, you shall receive. And to live expecting God to do his will justly, because we have a fair God. We have a logical, we have a fair God. And you need to expect that he's going to act in those ways, because he will. And through expecting that he acts in those ways, you're also expecting that you're going to have the most logical and you're going to have the most fair life imaginable for yourself. There's always the argument of not everybody has the same level of fairness when it comes to their life. There's always an argument of, yeah, what about this person or that person or that person? Ultimately, our goal, not even our goal is to serve God, but ultimately at the end of our life, we're either going to heaven or we're going to hell. Anything can happen to you during your life. What matters is, were you faithful? If you were faithful, you're going to heaven. Were you not faithful? Were you against God? Did you speak against him? Did you not believe in him? Then okay, you're living without God. You're in the absence of God, which is what hell is. It's not like a burning fiery hellscape. Well, hellscape is in like I like to think of the nether from Minecraft. That's not what it is. It is a place where you're absent from God. Final thing. This is the having part. This is where you receive your gift physically. So just to like conclude everything, you have a desire, you ask for it through prayer, you become a person with that thing, so you visualize it, you meditate on it, you pray about it, you gratitude journal about it, you write down that, hey, or you like write the date or whatever, you put May 15th, 2025, like whenever this comes out, and you write down, I am grateful for being the type of person that God trusts with the X goal. So for me, it would be, I'm grateful for being the type of person that God trusts to have an audience, that God trusts to teach other people, and that hopefully that will be the type of person to hopefully change someone's life. I'm grateful that I am trusted with that, and I'm grateful that if I'm not trusted with that, then I will find out very soon through God. That's how you would be grateful about it. That's having. Next thing is, or that's being. Next thing is having the thing. If it's right, God will give it to you. If it's something that you are supposed to have throughout your life, if it's something that you genuinely desire and you're going to use for good and you're not going to worship it, you're just going to use it as a tool, or as something that is just something that makes you plentiful and gives you abundance in your life, then God will give it to you, because God loves giving us abundance as long as we are loyal to him. Final thing, prioritize God, because he's the only one who can give it to you. So throughout this whole journey, I talked to you about visualization, I talked to you about meditation, I talked to you about gratitude journaling, praying, all these things. The number one thing, there are two, my list for things that are important in my life go like this, and I have it written down, and I have it based on all my goals. I set a goal for each aspect. So there's 4 things: my spirituality and my faith, my mental health. So it goes spirituality, mental health, my fitness, and then my work. If all of these things are together, the last one that I want to fall and fail is this spirituality. That's the most important thing in my entire life, and that's what I wake up to do. When in the morning when I meditate, it's to prepare me for reading my Bible. It's to prepare me for being present. It's to prepare me for being active mind and being able to absorb all the information properly. Next thing I do is, obviously, I read my Bible. I meditate and visualize. So I'm visualizing on the thing that, like we mentioned before, I'm expecting from God, that I'm faithful and hopeful that God will give me, because I believe that if we ask for something and if we do the work to get to it and we work very hard and we set an intention behind it, that we will be gifted with that thing. So I visualize it, just like I mentioned before, and how I'm going to keep mentioning in other videos. Next thing is I do my work. I do my work in the morning, because when people are up and about, it's a little bit weird to be making videos about Christianity and talking for this long and just being in my room by myself like a weirdo, especially when my entire family isn't Christian. My dad's a Buddhist and my mom is, I don't really know how Catholic she is anymore, but she grew up Catholic and she's not like super, super deep into Christianity to my understanding. She grew up in that way and she kind of like went not away from it, but it's not as like prevalent in her life. We don't go to church or anything, unfortunately, but obviously like I watch sermons online and podcasts and debates and all those types of things. And it's just a little bit weird if I'm like doing this with my dad out there working and he's a Buddhist and I'm just talking about things. Maybe I should because it might like transfer him over to Christianity, but just out of respect I don't. So I do it in the morning when no one's awake. And then I do workouts or I do some form of exercise or I go for a walk or something like that. That is everything. I teach Christ-based self-improvement. If you want more of that, subscribe to the channel. I have a free Discord in the description where you can talk to other guys who are on this journey, and I give guides and like just make posts and random things. It's not like a consistent schedule, but whenever I have an idea and I'm like, I think this will be helpful for people, I'll put it in the community and like important videos I'll send in there. And I'm making like a free mental health guide, like a 14-day roadmap or whatever that will be out sometime this summer. My name has been Brandon. Keep doing the best of doing your best. Trust God. Signing off.